Hello everybody, this is Trimeware412 taking a look at the game Rise of Nations 3, which I played on webdiplomacy.net. I played as the Russians, and my original plan was to start out with a few of the Balkan centers and then maybe a few also from Austria, while at the same time moving through Scandinavia and then eventually grabbing a few German centers. Doing that with an ally in Turkey, but then stabbing that ally to take my last few and getting to 18. So we'll see how that worked out for me. Things really do go as planned in 1901. I start off the Juggernaut. I have a pretty willing Turkey down here, so that seems to be working out for me. I do make a deal also with Germany, a deal of non-aggression, so you see him not moving to Denmark right away so that he can't bounce me out of Sweden, and also I move to Finland rather than Gulf of Bothnia, so that I cannot move down to Baltic in the fall and threaten his home centers. Also a deal with Austria. These moves down here, the mutual balance in Galicia, those were all planned. So things start out fairly well, and they continue to go well through the fall. Nothing terribly upsetting or surprising in those first couple moves. At the end of 1901, England fails to submit his build and he drops out. So you see I take a center of his in the spring. I continue working the Juggernaut, and I do move against Austria in the beginning of the second year. So my deal with him has ended, and I position myself to wrap around his centers, while also, like I said, taking that English center. So going pretty well. I'm on track. My next planned move was against Germany, as I continue also to move against Austria. So you see here in 03, moves against Austria. Italy had done something in the first couple of years to really piss Austria off, and so instead of attempting to defend himself, he decides he's going to attack Italy, which I suppose is actually a better choice for him, with Turkey and myself both coming after him. He couldn't have held these three centers, so maybe taking an Italian center he'd have a better chance of holding on to it, which he actually does do, so we'll see that coming up. Oh. So we see him attacking Italy, taking Venice here in the fall. Also, I begin my attack on Germany, taking Denmark in 1903 at the end of that year. So that's a good year for me. I take three centers with Denmark, Vienna, and Budapest, really making good progress in my original plan. Starting to notice in the west, and I guess I should have seen this earlier, France growing pretty quickly with England being out. Germany really didn't get in on any of that action since he didn't have fleets. So some issues possibly going to come up there, but I don't address them right away. 1904, I am able to, or I attack Kiel, but I'm not quite able to take it in the spring. And then in the fall, I pull off my second stab of Germany. I had convinced him to, or that I was ready to work with him against France, and instead I take both Kiel and Munich. You see France taking Holland, and he will eventually in this turn take Edinburgh as well. So pretty much the end of the road for Germany. He will have one center left after this turn, but that's not a whole lot. Also, some tension building between myself and Turkey. I allegedly had stated that I wanted to take Trieste from him in order to gain a fleet build. I don't remember saying that, but whatever. Also, I demanded that we start standing off in Bulgaria, because I didn't want him to have armies in position to take Romania from me. He wasn't happy about that, but he did it anyways. So we were really starting to strain our relationship, and part of that might have also been that I was still making progress and he was not. But at any rate, after the adjustments You see the beginning of 1905. I stabbed Turkey, but he saw it coming. I was hoping that he would continue our planned bounce in Bulgaria, which is what I was expecting from him. If he had done that, his army would be in Bulgaria, and I would have had free reign over his backside here. But that is not to be. And I was also hoping that I had spoken with France about allying and him moving his fleets into the Mediterranean to fight down here. And I had hoped that he would go for that, but he did not. So I have now stabbed my ally, and we have a growing threat in the west that I cannot really deal with if I'm also fighting with Turkey. So I really probably shot myself in the foot there. And then in the fall, as I tried to fix that to make things right, Turkey said, I guess what you could call the magic words, telling me that he would rather let France win than work with me against France. I would have been happy to have re-allied and to try to stop the other player from soloing, but if the choice was do that or die, I would rather just turn and fight Turkey, who was going to be stubborn, and let France pick at my northern border. So you see, I do lose a center in 05, and so I disband this fleet in Norway, deciding instead to fight in the south. And really the rest of the game is a story of France having his way with the smaller powers, Germany, Italy, and Austria, and then also on my northern border there, since I was kind of forced to keep fighting with Turkey. Probably an ill-timed stab on my part, but if the alliance with France had worked, it would have been a perfectly timed stab, so it's kind of all in how the diplomacy works out. And also at this point, in the year 1907, the last year of the game, France really only needed one more center to win. I had told him he should just go ahead and take one of my northern centers, but instead he fights his way into both of them and eliminates Italy and positions himself to eliminate Austria. If he had just taken one of my Scandinavian centers, he would have won with 18, and Italy and Austria would have both survived. Instead, he eliminates Italy and Austria and takes 3 of my other centers, just in a huge grab for territory. He takes a 22 center victory, and I end up with 6. That was really just my goal in the last year, seeing that he was going to run for a lot more than he needed. I just wanted to be even with Turkey, so we do both end the game with 6. Everyone else eliminated except France, who wins with 22. So my plan started out working very well, and then hit a big snag, but I guess I can't be too upset about the outcome because I wasn't defeated or destroyed. So there it is. That's the game. Feel free to comment, and thanks for watching.